Well, the biggest challenge actually that the UK faces alongside with having to potentially face a no-deal Brexit is the unity of the United Kingdom itself. And one thing COVID has done is actually brought to the fore a very clear demonstration of how those binding ties are today being tested. And in a no-deal Brexit scenario, how much more they will be tested. Now, if Boris Johnson does have a strategy, it's not one that is at all clear, other than possibly to him or one or two others who are very close to him. Look, what is the situation today as I stand in Brussels in front of you discussing this? We have a situation where today the European Union actually would be well within its rights to turn around to Boris Johnson and say, OK, this is a situation that has now been created directly by an action that you have taken, a bill that you have presented. We therefore now have no choice but to firstly go ahead and prepare for a no-deal Brexit scenario, because we are a matter of weeks away. And secondly, the bill that you have sent to us and you are using as a tactic, go and get it through your Parliament. And you better be very quick with getting it through your Parliament, because the negotiating space we have got left, both in terms of time and in terms of after the presentation of this text, the space is very limited indeed. So go and get it through your Parliament.
Let me ask you on
Once
this.
you've got it through your Parliament, we can see the text for what it is, and we then know exactly what we are dealing with.
So, Sajjad, Karim, just tell it to us straight here. These claims that there just hasn't been very much progress, or not much work, in fact, done these past months, that there's at best, I saw one quote, a 30% chance of a trade deal come mid-October. Is that just the usual noise when you have this kind of bargaining?
Well, one could actually be forgiven for even working on the basis today that the amount of time that has passed and simply not been used in the most effective manner may have been part of Boris Johnson's strategy. But it is all leading to one thing, and that is a very high risk of the United Kingdom crashing out of the European Union without a deal on the 31st of December. And let me tell you one thing very, very clearly. If that should happen, the people of the United Kingdom are not going to forget the promises that were made by this government, by the Leave campaign, by Boris Johnson. They are not going to forget them, and they are not going to forgive this government for the absolute calamity that will ensue in a no-deal Brexit situation, piling further on the difficulties that the United Kingdom is now facing with the whole COVID situation.
Would no deal be a calamity, Paul Thomson?
No, it would not be a calamity, because that's a very strong word, but it would be an undesirable outcome.
And there's that new poll out by YouGov which shows that a resounding majority want a deal.
More
than 50%, 28 against.
I'm sure that Boris Johnson wants a deal, and that the members of his cabinet and his close advisors want one as well. I think that the person who's just spoken was probably not a strong supporter of Brexit in the first place, and that therefore he's taking a sort of dim view of what Boris Johnson is trying to do. I don't think it's obscure at all what he's trying to do. He is working towards a scenario which corresponds to the usual scenario in Europe, in the European Union, of which the UK is no longer a part, namely a lot of horse trading, a lot of jockeying for position, with a view to coming up to an overall deal in the final stretch, when a series of big issues are all tackled in tandem together, and the real decision makers, who are not Michel Barnier or any of the people around this table, but people like Emmanuel Macron, Boris Johnson, Angela Merkel, and the other national leaders, actually decide what's going to be done. And I think there's maybe a 30% chance of their not being a deal.
Okay, so you're more optimistic. Sajjad, Karim?
Much more optimistic, yes.
I must take issue with what has just been said for this reason. I cannot recall a single negotiation that the European Union has been involved in where the other party has attempted to rip up the basis of the agreement, an international treaty, at the 11th hour. That simply has never happened before. So to say that this is a negotiation in good faith being carried out by Boris Johnson, I'm afraid, just defies all logic. It goes against process. And above all, it actually goes against the very nature of the United Kingdom and our history.
I would dispute that, Dave. I may just say very quickly, within the European Union itself, there have been situations where hugely important legal norms were merrily tossed out the window. For example, that the European Central Bank should not finance
This is a treaty that was signed in January, though.
That is
not dry yet.
That is the point. Is that in a political context, situations may arise where people will maneuver in certain ways, and that is something which France has done on very important issues. The one I just mentioned. And Britain is not going to. In 5 years' time, I'm sure that the reputation of Britain as a reliable international actor will not have been dented in the slightest by this affair.